I don't know if all of you know the story behind it. In World War One, there was a Canadian doctor, and he lost a friend of his in the war. He wrote this poem, and somehow or other he didn't like it after he got finished, and he threw it away. Somebody picked it up out of the garbage and had it published, and it's with us to this day. Here it is. In Flanders Field, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived. We felt dawn, saw sunset glow. We loved and were loved. And now we lie in Flanders Field. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you, from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Field. And that was written by Dr. John McCrae. Now I have a few more things to say here. Military service by its nature is temporary. The legacy of that service, however, can benefit generations for centuries. Veterans Day can be traced to the armistice which 70 years ago President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed what many historians consider the greatest social legislation ever passed by the U.S. Congress. As popular as the GI Bill remains today, it took the horrific cost and bloodshed of World War II to remind many Americans just how great a debt is owed to our veterans. In 1932, thousands of World War I veterans camped out in Washington, D.C. to petition their government for bonuses that they felt were owed. Their campsite was forcibly overrun by the U.S. Army, and at least 2 veterans were killed by the police. President Franklin Roosevelt told the American Legion National Convention in 1933 that, quote, no person, because he wore a uniform, must thereafter be placed in the special class of beneficiaries over and above other citizens, unquote. While Roosevelt would later prove himself to be a great wartime commander-in-chief, what he and others failed to realize at the time is that veterans were not asking to be part of a special class. They just wanted a shot at the American dream that they fought so hard to defend. Most Americans profess to truly love our veterans, especially at gatherings like this on Veterans Day and Memorial Day. And while their feelings are usually sincere, it is important to remember that veterans are defending us 365 days a year. The heroism that is demonstrated time and again by veterans of the American Revolution to the global war on terrorism is sometimes unnoticed by those of us who enjoy the security that their sacrifice has provided. Now there's a lot in here about a Alabama winner I'm not even going to read. Our debt to these heroes can never be repaid, but our gratitude and respect must last forever. For many veterans, our nation was important enough to endure long separations from their families, miss the birth of their children, freeze in sub-zero temperatures, bake in wild jungles, lose limbs, and far too often lose their lives. Military spouses have had to endure career interruptions, frequent changes of address, and a disproportionate share of parental responsibility. The children often had to deal with changes in schools, separation from their friends, and hardest of all, the uncertainty of whether or not mom or dad will live through the next combat tour. Warriors need advocates, and that is why the American Legion exists. We are here to serve veterans, their families, and our community. Veterans need each other, but more importantly, our country needs our veterans. You cannot fight a war without veterans, and while the utopian idea of a society without war is appealing, let us not forget that wars have liberated slaves, stopped genocide, and toppled terrorists. Stephen Ambrose once wrote, "American wars have been like rungs on a ladder by which it rose to greatness. No other country has triumphed so long, so consistently, or on such a vast scale through force of arms." It has been often said that without our veterans, Americans will be speaking Russian, German, or perhaps Japanese. Regardless of which view of alternative history you take, we do know that without our veterans, America would not be America. And as we look at the Middle East today, we know that there is a large, dangerous, and committed group of fanatics that wants us dead. And while ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and other terrorists may lack the conventional weapons of Nazi Germany or Imperial Japan, they are every bit as evil in their intentions. Those who defend us from our enemies must be supported, whether their service was in Baghdad or Beirut. We need to serve veterans as well as they serve us, even when the guns have temporarily stopped firing. The American Legion shows its support for America's heroes through its Family Support Network, Legacy Scholarship Fund, Operation Comfort Warriors, Temporary Financial Assistance, and the National Emergency Fund, just to name a few of our programs. Veterans don't ask for much. They do not want to be in a special class. The benefits are a mere drop in the bucket compared to the financial and the human cost of war. And while not all veterans see war, all who served in the military have expressed a willingness to fight this cause. You can show your support for these great men and women by hiring a veteran in your workplace, visiting a VA hospital, or donating to a veteran program. Historians have said that Dwight Eisenhower was prouder of being a soldier than he was of being the president. While relatively few Americans ever reached the rank of general, pride in one's military service is a bond shared by nearly all who have served. I'm almost finished. This pride is on display on every obituary page in the country, where military service, regardless of how many decades have passed and subsequent achievements reached, is mentioned with the death notice of nearly every deceased veteran. Can any CEO or distinguished Ivy League graduate truly claim to have more responsibility than the 21-year-old squad leader walking point on patrol in Afghanistan? Fewer than 10% of Americans can claim the title veteran. Far less than 1% of our population is currently defending us in the global war on terrorism. And yet many seem intent on trying to balance the federal budget by diminishing the quality of life programs designed for the families who have already disproportionately made these sacrifices. Veterans have given us freedom, security, and the greatest nation on earth. It is impossible to put a price on that. We must remember them, we must appreciate them. God bless you all for being here. God bless our veterans, and God bless America. Thank you.